I'm really excited to get talking about this topic and share with you today one simple trick that has really helped me in my career. And my hope is that it's going to change your day and it's going to change the way you move forward in your career in a way that's going to help you shine to the people around you. You probably have heard of The Big Leap. Gay Hendricks, he's just come out with a new book, The Joy of Genius. This is whether you've read the book or not, it's probably something that's familiar to you. Today, I'm going to simplify the concepts that are a part of The Big Leap, save you from reading 216 pages in your bedroom when you're tired, and turn this into something that is really relatable and practical for you, tools that you could start using as soon as today to get going on what I call working in your zone of genius. Now, the zone of genius and the concept around it was something that I was introduced to by a personal high performance coach that I was working with. The conversations that we had around working inside of my zone of genius were far more meaningful to me than actually anything that I read in the book. I'll be honest with you, I did start to read the book. I've read parts of the book, but I haven't read it in full. Because as I said, the conversations that I was having with the high performance coach framed these concepts in a way that was far more relevant to me than words I was reading on a page. She helped me really understand that to grow as a person, to grow as a professional, and in my case, to grow as a leader of an organization, you've really, really got to embrace the idea of working more often than not inside of what we call your zone of genius. I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to walk you through the different zones and what you're doing there and how to shift your thinking a little bit, how to shift your activities and efforts a little bit, because what we really want to do from this talk is get you understanding that you've constantly got to be making conscious decisions to turn away from the things or to stop involving yourself in the things that are not inside of your zone of genius. Okay, so if you haven't read the books, that's okay, because today we're gonna bring all that information that I've learned through this, and we're gonna put it in context of working harder inside of your role in pharma, perhaps pharma marketing. Our roles in pharma, in the business side of pharma, have a unique set of challenges, and I think this concept applies very, very well for that. If you have read the book, that's okay too, because this will serve as like a Coles Notes of that, and it's going to frame it in a way that will help you actively working on this. Like, I'm really excited for how this is going to change your day, how this is going to change your month, how it's going to change your relationship with your peers and your boss, because it is going to affect your day-to-day if you do it right. It is going to affect your career development. You are going to shine. People around you are going to start appreciating the things that you do more because you're doing them in a way that no one else has the ability to do. So stay with me on this because I'm going to explain it more as we go. But really today is about talking about operating in your zone of genius in the life and career that you are leading right now. So as I said, in pharma, or specifically in pharma marketing, I think our industry has a unique set of challenges to it. We're highly regulated. We work in large cross-functional teams, and we have very, very demanding jobs. So for instance, as a brand manager, you are working in so many different areas. You've got bosses to report to. They are watching your performance. You are expected to do things that are, matter of fact, part and parcel of your role. But I want to talk about how, yes, that's true for everyone. We've all got to do things that are part and parcel of our role. Some of those things we don't really like doing. Some of those things we can admit other people could do better than us, but we are still expected to do them. And that's fine, but I'm going to teach you how to, more often than not, edge your way away from those things to free up time and space in your day, your week, your month, to get operating in that zone of genius, because that's where you shine. Okay, so you've chosen this career in pharma. What I want to do is get you doing more of what you're best at, more of what you are energized by, because that shows through in your work, more of what I call, to my team, working in your upper limit. So to me, working in your zone of genius is very much like working in your upper limit. It's the high performance sector of what we're talking about. Since most of us in pharma are high achieving, high performing, often A-type personalities, I think the system that I'm about to explain is right up our alley. So let's get at it. Let's start talking about how to make you perform more in your zone of genius, advance your career, shine in your career, shine to your peers, okay? So I've just prepared here a little bit of a very, very simple explanation of the 4 zones that Gay Hendricks' premise, the zone of genius, is built on. We've got the zone of incompetence, we've got the zone of competence, we've got the zone of excellence, and the zone of genius. This is the money shot here, okay? So let's go through one by one, and I'll explain in basic terms what each of these quadrants is defined by, because you're gonna need this as an operating principle moving forward. So in the zone of incompetence, this is where you're doing things that you're not really good at. You're doing things that you don't have a particular skill set or a really good grasp of, okay? Hold that thought. I'm gonna go through all 4, and then I'm gonna give you a relatable example to frame this. In your zone of competence, some people do it better. You're average at the things that are on your to-do list that you're doing in your zone of competence, because you come from a place where you've got an average or satisfactory understanding and a satisfactory skill set to do things in here. When we move upward to the zone of excellence, and really it's all about getting yourself performing above this line, not many people do these things better than you do. You are highly skilled at them. You're operating at a high level in this area in terms of your skill and your expertise, because you have accumulated a lot of knowledge and a unique set of skills and tools that you know how to use exceptionally well when you're performing in this area. People around you see you as being excellent at these things, see you as being well above the average. You're getting a lot of admiration when you're working in here, okay? And then, as I said, the zone that you want to get to more often than not is the zone of genius, where no one does it quite like you in this area. So in my life, there's been times in my career where we've left a meeting and people will say to me like, oh, Christine, I don't know how you did that presentation, or my God, like, I wish you could teach me how to do that, or you were in your zone, you were like, wow, I can't believe it. People are telling you that what you just did is in your zone of genius. No one can do it quite like you. You're exceptional at the things that are happening here. You are in the flow, you are in your zone, you feel strong, you feel excited and energized. You're so fully absorbed in whatever's going on here that it's almost as if time stands still. It's almost as if you could do this all day long. Doesn't even feel like you're working. You love it. You're in a groove. You know why? It's because when you're doing things here, you are utilizing not just your skills and your knowledge, but you're using the full spectrum of your unique gifts. There is no one who can do these things exactly the way that you do. Example, there is no one who can dance quite like Michael Jackson. People can try, right? Justin Bieber can try. I mean, he's really, really good at it, but nobody can do it quite like Michael Jackson did. Now, I'm quickly gonna just, to bring this to life for you and give you some relevance here, I'm gonna take a silly but very relatable everyday example about fish, cooking fish in my house, okay? So we're gonna talk about my journey with salmon from the grocery store to serving it on a plate in my home. I would say that in my zone of incompetence, the activity would be skinning fish. I'm really not good at it. I cut myself, it slips, it slides, I don't have those metal gloves. So every time I buy my salmon, I say to the guy at the fish counter, hey, you're competent at this or excellent at this. Could you skin my fish for me? Because I'm really not competent at that. When I think about what am I competent about when it comes to preparation of salmon, I can barbecue. I'm maybe not as good at it as my husband, who probably sits here, but I do have the skill set to be able to barbecue the salmon and to, not undercook it or not overcook it. Risky, but I can do it. Whereas my zone of excellence would be, and I'm picking up cues here from people in my personal life. I've had people come for dinner and eat my salmon that I've prepared, and they say, "How do you marinate your salmon?" Because every time that it doesn't taste good when I do it. So like, what's the secret sauce? What is it that you're doing, Christine, that's excellent about this fish that I don't know how to do? Not many people do it better. Do you see how that lines up? Now, you want to talk about my zone of genius when it comes to salmon. My roasted salmon with lemons and capers recipe is something I pulled out of like Better Homes and Gardens 20 years ago or something. I've cooked it time and again for company. I've served it for Christmas Eve. It's the type of meal that people, oh my God, that was to die for. How did you do this? Like, oh, I could never cook salmon like that. It was delicious. They are telling me that no one does that like me. So that's just a silly but relatable example from the fishmonger who can skin it better than me to the way that I can serve it that not many other people can. Okay? So my cooking skills aside, let's talk about how this applies to work. To really show you, I've made a list over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, tracking all of my activities. So anytime I did anything noteworthy, I kept this flip chart back at my desk and I would just jot things down. So it's ugly. There's some ugly truths in here in terms of how I spend my time. But if I look over this list that I've accumulated with the 4 quadrants in mind, I am able to now slot my activities by category into the different zones. I know where I'm doing things that I am not skilled at. And I know where I am doing things that no one else in this organization can quite do like me. So for you, I'm going to recommend that you start keeping track of the things that you are doing in your career that are noteworthy. Keep a list at the back of your notebook, if you will. Just start jotting things down categorically that you do, the meetings that you go to, the time you spend with others, the independent work that you do, the customer work that you do. Jot them all down categorically. And when you've accumulated a list, come back to these quadrants and start to slot them by the definitions that I provided to you. It's easiest to start with the things that are below the line, the things that fall into your zone of incompetence and your zone of competence. That's because we usually have a top of mind awareness about the things that we're really not good at, things that feel hard, things that feel like a struggle. We're doing all right at them, but we are certainly not lighting the world on fire. I am doing a really good job of attending client status meetings, okay, as an example. But where the magic hits the road is that if I'm in that status meeting, letting my team do their work, and I hear of something that tips me off to a bigger idea, I can bump up and I can start working in my zone of genius to give strategies, strategizing pad responses, helping with launch planning. Those are the things that no one does like me. Let's go back to you keeping your list and then trying to keep them in the category. It is harder when we start to think about the things that we're excellent at. That's because when you're working in your zone of excellence, it's very seducing. This is the area where people are praising you, where rewards come. There's a feeling of keep doing what you're doing because it feels so good. It's potent. And it's a bit of a trick, to be honest with you, because you can believe that this is where you belong. You probably feel really happy here. This is me marinating my salmon and people saying, how do you do that? That's amazing. Can you teach me? Wow, Christine, this is delicious. I can't do it like that. It's seducing, okay? But our goal, really and truly, is to get you more over here. And so to do that, I think you've got to ask yourself, I suspect that there's a feeling going on, even when you're seduced over here. I suspect that there's a feeling inside of you, maybe like an inner calling to do more, to be more, to advance, to have more in your career, more fulfillment, more accolades, greater position, you want to be doing work that cultivates a feeling of strength and fulfillment in you each and every day. And when I look at this honest to goodness list of how I spend my time and the things that I can admit belong in this zone of genius, it does make me feel that way. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right. I've got people around me to support me to do the things that I am not the best in the world at. More often than not, I am working in my zone of genius, and I'm proud of that. But let's be honest, no one can possibly, I own and run an agency, I build teams around me. I guess theoretically, I could say, no, I'm not doing that and delegate it to other people. But that's not how life works. It's certainly not how life works for you when your boss has given you a job description and you are forced to do things in all 4 categories. But admitting that no one spends their professional life 100% sitting in their zone of genius, we just have to accept that life is going to demand us to work in each of the 4 quadrants at any given time. But the goal, let's focus on the goal. The goal is to spend more time than not operating in your zone of genius, and yes, even your zone of excellence, like above this line. So if we can get you working here, you're going to be doing things that are standout, that are brilliant, like the Michael Jackson example. Like, J.K. Rowling, did she spend more time editing or did she spend more time writing? She hired an editor who, the editor is working in their zone of genius and editing so that J.K. Rowling can spend her time in her zone of excellence, which is writing books that are flying off the shelves, okay? Let's take lessons from those people. They made more time and space in their lives to operate inside of their zone of genius. They acknowledged that no one could do that one thing that they could, and so should you. And so I'm a big believer in like trigger words. When you feel like you're trying to work towards a goal, but you might feel like you're a little bit off stray. So given my Michael Jackson example, I'm going to give you the cue word of moonwalk. So when you walk into a meeting or you go back to your desk, just say the word in your head, moonwalk. Is the moonwalk Michael Jackson's zone of genius? Absolutely. Nobody did it like him. He invented it. I want you to trigger yourself with the word moonwalk. If you are not moonwalking, your job is to get you more into your zone of genius, okay? So you can do this activity too. As of this moment, starting today, you can start to track what you're doing for a week or a month, whatever feels comfortable to you. And then there's going to be a point in time where you convert and you start to slot them into these quadrants and you look at the reality of where you're spending your time. So keep a piece of paper in the back of your notebook. When you catch yourself doing something noteworthy, jot it down. You're going to start to fill that page and you're going to then start to get a glimpse of your reality. Start small and start to make a conscious effort to increase your time and your effort in your zone of genius bit by bit until you're working there almost perpetually. Okay? This concept is about what the world needs and wants from you and only you, what is uniquely yours to give. The things that literally no one else can do like you. No one else can deliver them the way that you can. We want to get you doing more of that.